to the HCW YouTube channel, and welcome back once again to Alex Connors, who lives here now. How you doing?
Yeah, the rest of my personal life is getting very annoyed at how much of my time you're taking. But honestly, I would obviously not rather be anywhere else than talking to you, Ray.
Yeah, because I am your personal life now. So we are here to not discuss Kamikaze. We're actually here to discuss wrestling in Hinckley. They've got their biggest show of the year. That's the name of the show. That wasn't me just saying it's going to be the biggest show, but it is going to be the biggest show. To break down the action, and there's no better man than yourself, as we know from the reviews of Kamikaze Pro, to break down any kind of action. You don't know what order I'm going in. I haven't told you
No,
that. The only thing you should know is that your match will be the one we'll discuss at the end, because that's pretty much
fair
how
enough.
I bring
Sounds
any guests
good.
on.
And let's talk about the names of the shows real quick, because one of
Yeah,
the things that's really great about wrestling in Hinckley is they have these same theme shows that come back every single year. The Fear of Falling, the Rumble, the Halloween show, and it's WrestleMania season, the biggest show of the year.
hey, it's smart. Work it is the way it is. So we are going first up. We've got the match that was announced today of the recording, which is a technically debut in Nate, but he was in the Rumble. You got Jay Matthews, Shiloh, and let me get my names up here at the same time. 40
Forty.
versus Has Hype. For people that weren't aware, that used to be Hassan Ali. He's now gone into Has Hype, which I really like. Debuting Violet Knight, Woody Anderson, and Kenny Temple.
Yeah, what a fascinating match this is going to be for a number of reasons. I kind of hoped you'd save this till later on because this is probably the one that we need to spend the most amount of time on.
Too bad.
Um, we've got we've got a solid team over on one side. Shiro and Jay Matthews have been teaming for a long time, not just in wrestling in Hinckley, but up and down the country. They are two students of TJ Sky, and they have been a fantastic redacted. They've been a fantastic team, but still very green. Not a huge number of match under either of their belts. On the other side, we have another team who know each other very well. Kenny Temple, Woody Anderson, based in Telford, wrestle a lot for APW, probably a lot more experience, but another team that know each other very well. But then we've added two people on to either side who don't know each other whatsoever.
No.
So I would guess the fan favourite side, Shiro and Jay Matthews, the hometown heroes, even if they are less experienced. They've got Nate Riley, who we know from Kamikaze,
Very
is
well,
definitely
yes.
a fan favourite and a high flyer. And Fordy, who's definitely a hometown boy and gets a lot of cheers from the crowd, but also inexperienced, and he doesn't know any of the others. So that's a really interesting mix, and definitely the more inexperienced quartet. On the other side, Violet Knight, she's making a debut, so that will be interesting. And Has Hype has been in Hinckley, but only for a couple of matches. He was in a scramble match last
Yeah.
time, and I think he is quite popular with the crowd. And I'm wondering whether he will gel with the other three members of his team. That would definitely be something that might weigh on their experience advantage, because I think the other four will have a common goal. They're new, they're young, they're eager. They're all four of them want to please the crowd, but they want to pick up that momentum because they really need it because they are trying to make a name for themselves. The other four have a bit more of a name for themselves, but does that mean egos might collide? Has Hype likes playing to the crowd? I think Kenny, Woody, and Violet are just going to want to get the job done. It's a really interesting quartet on both sides and a really interesting mix of teams and strangers.
Yeah, so as you mentioned, so Jay and Shiro came out of that win in the big Hinkley win against No Mercy.
Yep.
And last time out, Has 40, Woody, Anderson, and Temple were in that scramble, so they were all pretty much against each other.
Yeah.
So, going from facing each other in a scramble where none of them picked up a win to now teaming, it's going to be a difficult affair for them to gel, I think.
Definitely, definitely. And I wonder whether or not Shiro and Jay Matthews will have a home field advantage. They train under TJ Sky, who's obviously from wrestling in Hinckley, and they are wrestling in Hinckley born and bred, whereas everyone else in the match is coming in from an outside source.
Yeah. It's going to be a good one. I normally pick mine because you never come on the actual. You're always our review guy, so you never see. You're never on the
True.
preview, so I never sit on the fence. So I'm going to go with. If I had to go with that, I'd probably lean towards the Nate team just because of the, as you said, the a bit more working together kind of thing. Was
All
it
right.
pretty much going
Well,
to be the three guys that have faced each other, and then Violet Knight's hopefully going to maybe try and bring them together? But I doubt that's going to happen. Yeah.
yeah, I do think there'll be conflict on that other side. So I think you are probably right. I would pick the Nate team, but if there is a score at the end, I've wrestled Has Hype and Woody, and they are both fantastic. So just for devil's advocate, I'll pick the other team, just in case we add up the tally at the end.
The only people that are going to win here are the fans, though. That's all that matters, isn't it?
Exactly. And you know what? Wrestling Weekly's Scramble and Rumbles recently have been some of the most beloved matches of the night. So I think this will be another one. They've had four-way tag matches, they've had six-way scramble, eight-way scrambles, 31-person rumbles, and these multi-man matches have been the highlights. So I think people are going to be really excited to see the chaos that ensues.
And I can't wait for it. Moving on next, we've got a team that you're very familiar with, the team of Sweet Justice. And they're facing off against Big Boy Cartel, which it was Tyler Owens and it's someone Best. I can't remember his first name.
Samuel Best.
Samuel Best, that was it. I do
Someone
apologise.
who I'm also very familiar with, as he used to be a health and safety member. Have you remembered to change your graphics on screen?
I have. I've actually paid attention, and this is going to work really smoothly. And then that's the last time you're going to mention it, and then it won't move ever again.
Beautiful. Yeah. So Sweet Justice, I don't believe have lost as a pair, including defeating myself and Basham before that Rumble. We may have got revenge. I may have been able to eliminate them both at the end of that Rumble, but they did win the 2-on-2, and they have won every 2-on-2. They've got a lot of momentum in a couple of different promotions. So you'd like to think that they are the favourites, I would suspect, even if they may use underhanded tactics. But let's not count out. Tyler Owens and Sam Best are also undefeated as a pair in Hinckley. They've had less matches. Tyler Owens has been very successful single star up until Sam Best left health and safety. Now he's joined up with Tyler Owens. They picked up a couple of wins. So it's not going to be a walkover for Sweet Justice. It's going to be very close. And I'm interested to see whether or not Tyler Owens and Sam Best can keep the momentum going as a newly formed team. Do they have all their morals in line? Do they agree with everything? Or are they still feeling each other out as partners?
Yeah, and as you mentioned, Sweet Justice came out of a victory against yourself and Luke Basham, and the Owens and Best were the other part of the Wrestling Inkley team that won against No Mercy. So they are, both teams are technically on a roll, even though one was in an 8-man tag.
Sweet Justice won before that, and Tyler Owens and Sam Best won a Four Corners match before that as well. So they're both on winning streaks, not just a one-off.
Yeah, but the more experience is in Sweet Justice's side, isn't it?
Yeah.
You got, obviously, just look at the judge. The experience is reaping off him, and then you got Sweet Steve, which, good grief.
Yeah, both teams, interestingly, are made up of maybe an established person. You said yourself, heard of Tyler Owens before, but maybe not Samuel Best. And obviously the judge, an icon of the local British indie scene. And they're both teaming with somebody who's maybe a little bit newer. But I think Samuel Best probably has more experience than Sweet Steve. But I think Sweet Steve is a lot more underhanded. And I can tell you that pays off a lot. I'm fairly confident in a fair fight. I can handle Sweet Steve, but it's not going to be a fair fight.
I thought you said there's a fairly confident this is going to be a fair fight. It was like, how many times you had that gavel off your head?
Exactly.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun match. First time I saw Sweet Justice was last show, and I really enjoyed them as a tag team, even obviously it was against your benefit. And Tyler Owens, I've seen a lot of outside of with Kumite, his team with Next Level, we mentioned prior to recording this. And Samuel Best is quite new to me as well from the Wrestling Inkley. If I had to put my out on something, it probably would be Sweet Justice because they're very underhanded and they will continue to be underhanded.
Yeah, last time I thought it was close enough that I could play devil's advocate, but this time I can't. Sweet Justice defeated myself and Luke Basham. I had a lot of confidence. I thought we were a powerful team. We gave it our best effort, but they are just so sneaky and slimy. There's the elastic band, there's the gavel. You never know which way they're going to go. So I say the same thing as I said before. In a fair fight, I'm sure Tyler and Samuel Hughes might pick up the win, but it's not going to be a fair fight. I'm going to agree with you. Sweet Justice are the favourites.
Yeah. Moving on to your next matchup, I've changed the graphic. It's Lucia Lee, the debut in Lucia Lee, facing the ever-dominant Dominator.
Well, interesting phrase, the ever dominant Dominator. I don't think she's won since she lost her title. And there's a real crisis of confidence, I think, for Dominator. Lucia Lee is going to obviously want to make a name off a former Wrestling and Hinckley champion. She's got BDK stablemates there, whether or not they're going to be a factor. She's someone who's been hyped as coming to Wrestling and Hinckley for quite a few months, so we've always known she was on her way. I'm really excited for this match. They don't know each other that well. Two very prolific wrestlers, but I don't believe they've met all that frequently, so there'll be probably a lot of curveballs in this one.
They have actually faced each other a few times, I found out, from the good old interwebs. Singles match wise, Dominator's 4-0 against her, which is very, very strong. It's very one-sided. They fought in a few like tag scrambles, stuff like that, but singles match, Dominator's got a number.
Well, that makes Dominator sound like the favourite, but does the pressure of being the defending champ? Lucia has really nothing to lose. And Dominator, she's lost the title, she's lost every match since, and now people are just coming in trying to make a name off her. If she wins, she's just really kept herself above water. But if she loses, Lucia's made a huge name for herself, and Dominator keeps plummeting. So I think there's a lot of pressure there. It's not going to be the same as the other four matches.
Yeah, it is a lot of pressure. Obviously, Dominator's last match was in a triple threat, which is a bit different. But you mentioned prior to this, she has been on a bit of a losing run. She might see, because obviously she's got a good. She might be overconfident fighting someone like Lucia when she knows she's beaten 4 at times. But Lucia's dangerous. And then you said it was BDK's always around.
Yeah, you see it all the time when you've got a dominant athlete at the top of their game, Federer and Nadal, and then along comes Djokovic or Hamilton, and along comes Verstappen. They might beat them 4, 5, 6 times, but eventually that dogged determination. I think this might be the surprise for Lucia. She's got everything to gain, nothing to lose, and for Dominator, quite the opposite. So I'm going to beat you to the pick this time and say I think Lucia Lee's going to surprise us.
I would have to agree. Like, I'm a big fan of Lucia Lee. Always has banging matches, but it's hard to look past stats. This could be her Undertaker. The streak continues. Yeah. Or she just might play the rule that the streak didn't exist. I'm going to go with Dominator just to split the decision because that's what we like in wrestling. But it's going to be a very, very hard-hitting match.
Absolutely.
It's all about Lucia if she can get past the dominant, like the strong ability of Dominator and trying to get her down, which is probably what she needs to do.
I imagine Dominator will be quite happy to have a one-on-one because, like you said, the triple threats are a whole different ball game. There's a lot to manage. She got sort of overwhelmed and surprised by Kieran Young and his minions a few times. So to have a straight singles match is probably a relief. So she might be looking forward to playing that power game and getting stuck in.
Yeah. But it's going to be a very, very good match. Next up, we've got Luke Basham versus Big Van Veska, BDK once again.
Yeah, this is going to be an interesting one. These are two people who I think are desperate to cement their place on the card, and it's very interesting to see Wesker in a singles match. We know him as a tag team performer at Wrestling in Hinckley, as well as a lot of other places. He's a tag team specialist. Luke Basham, I think, gets an easy advantage there. But at the same time, he's not been able to cement himself on the Wrestling in Hinckley card with a solid momentum running streak. As we mentioned last time, he lost alongside me against Sweet Justice, and he's been up and down, up and down, up and down. So I think this is a momentum shifting match. Both people want to cement themselves on the card. The only slight glimmer I see as an advantage is that Luke Basham is more of a single specialist than Wesker.
Yeah, so you mentioned Basham lost in the tag team match with you, and Wesker's last time out, except for obviously Rumble appearances, he lost to Joey Scott at Summer Spectacular, generally championship. The only thing, they've had one singles match from that I can find, and Basham did pick up the win at BCCW against Vesker, so obviously he's going to be out to prove again that he can beat Vesker. But anything can happen.
Yeah, it's definitely a chaotic one. This seems probably the hardest to call of all the matches we've said so far, because these two people are really on a level. I imagine their BCCW match was very close indeed.
Yep.
And I think Wesker is probably even more experienced in singles recently than he would have been at that time, where he was in a real tag team run. And I mean, he's a very experienced competitor in both. I just meant he was in the tag team zone at the time. It's almost impossible to call this one, so I'm going to let you go first.
Wow, I see how it is. It's just gonna be a hard hitting match as well, which I'm very much looking forward to. From outside perspective, I'm gonna steer towards Veska because one DDK are around anyway. We're forgetting to beat,
Yeah.
and he's pushing towards being more of a singles character from the other appearances I've seen outside of
Yeah.
Wrestling Inc. And it'll be a big win. Basham's very experienced, so it'll be a big win for him to pick up. So I'm gonna go Veska.
Okay, I will have to go with Basham then. I think this is close enough to go the other way. I think Basham really has something to prove, not just to himself, but to the Wrestling and Hinckley crowd. I've seen Basham appear in a lot of places, and there's a lot of beloved characters in Wrestling and Hinckley, and he hasn't quite, like I say, broken into the top echelon of the beloved Hinckley superstars, and he's not really managed to keep that winning momentum. So I think he's got so much to prove, and I think he's going to bring his A game, and when he brings his A game, he is one of the best.
Yeah. We have got some questions to answer, but I'm going to wait till the end where we've already discussed the matches because some of them obviously revolve around the matches and we don't want to go skip ahead. Next up, technically, it's probably going to be the main event, but I always let the guests speak about their match last. We've got Kieran Young, the Wrestling Clean champion, versus Jason Joshua.
Yeah, a fantastic match between two people who know each other really, really well. Jason Joshua's been on a roller coaster the past 12 months at Wrestling in Hinckley. He's been beloved, he's been hated, he's been through some hellish, brutal matches with Joey Scott, and then he's come really close to winning that belt and earning the respect of Dominita. And just when he was on this journey, here comes Kieran Young, briefcase in hand, and a whole host of masked minions who we are yet to learn the identity of, and the mystery continues. So I think these two are two amazing competitors. I think we're in for an amazing match, but I don't really have an answer for the mystery behind Kieran Young. Who are the people in black? Who's watching his back? If Jason Joshua doesn't know, then he's going to have that in the back of his mind this whole match. It's going to give Kieran Young the edge he needs, I reckon.
Yeah, so we nearly had one of them unmasked at the end of the last match they had, the triple threat, but it was just Kieran pulled him just in time, so it wasn't a big reveal. Obviously Kieran would picked up the win against Joshua and Dominator. From my looking up, it sounds weird, but I could only find one match ever between these two in a singles match, which sounds incredible.
That is crazy.
7 years ago, and Jason Joshua picked up a win.
Oh, wow. Well, that is a real shock, yeah. I think they're both completely different wrestlers than they would be 7 years ago. Yeah. So I don't think we can factor that record in for once. I think it's irrelevant. They're two people who are at the top of their game right now, and they're two of the most reliable, consistent performers in the UK, let alone the Midlands. I think it'll be a great match, but when you're on about that unmasking, Jason Joshua and Dominator were almost too focused on the minions. They want to know who they are. They want to know who's been screwing them. And so would I. There's somebody on the roster, not just one. Yeah. There's at least 4 we've seen at the same time. People on the Wrestling and Hinckley roster who have screwed Jason Joshua and Dominator out of every opportunity they've had. So if I was Jason Joshua, I'm going to be angry. I'm going to want to know who's robbed me. But does that mean I'm going to take my eyes off Kieran Young? I think yes. I think that is going to be the factor. Kieran Young is going to pick up the win, but I'd be just as interested to find out who are the masked men.
Yeah, it's all dependent on Jason Joshua. If he, as you said, if he focuses on Kieran Young, it's going to be a very good match and a big thing. But there's goons everywhere. It's very hard to the numbers game. Obviously, will it be referee Adam? Is there a referee Adam, a Wrestling Inkley guy?
There is referee Adam, but there's referee Aaron as well. So who knows who will be out there for
if
this
it's referee Adam, we know that he'll get distracted. We know that will happen because he's on the payroll.
Now, both of them are quite fragile referees as well. I think when they hit the deck. So Kieran Young will be looking to exploit it. He'll be looking to make the most out of it. And there's very few answers to that, unless since we've been away, has Jason Joshua been forming some alliances? He seemed to earn Dominator's respect. Is she watching his back?
Who knows? I'd love Jason Joshua to win this, but I can't see past Kieran Young and the Goon Squad.
Yeah. Although I think it would be just a bigger win if Jason Joshua gets his hands on one of them. either wrings their necks or at least opens it up and lets us see who's been hiding in plain sight and screwing us out of a honourable and noble Wrestling and Hinckley champion for so long.
As long as it's like a Scooby-Doo kind of reveal, that's what I want. I want
I
the
think
shock.
it will be, and I'm fascinated. We've got tag teams up and down the roster.
Mm-hmm.
Are they all telling each other the truth? Are they all, maybe a whole team will be in there? Maybe it won't be. We've got good guys, bad guys, beloved crowd fan favourites, and people who you'd expect. We saw Kieran align himself with Sweet Justice, but then none of these people look anything like Sweet Justice.
No one looks like the
So
judge.
how many? How many does he have? Kieran's really been working hard to form this group. So I think they're probably die-hard loyalists to Kieran Young with the way they've been acting, and that's a scary thing to think about because who knows how far they'll go to protect his title reign.
But it's going to be a superb match. Very much looking forward to it. But a match I'm looking forward to most because of both guys in this match I'm big fans of. We've got Alex Connors, big fan, versus the new Adrenaline champion, CJ Rawlins, who I'm a massive fan of as well, I'm going to be honest.
Yeah, fantastic wrestler is CJ Rawlings, and he's been on a hell of a run. He obviously won the scramble match that we've mentioned several times already. And then he went and beat Joey Scott, who's one of the best wrestlers in the country, to win that title. So he is a formidable competitor and one of the best in the whole country, up and down the country. But you do like to talk about records, I believe. You've mentioned a few times. And yesterday we discussed, for those who don't know, we discussed a few of my past title wins. And one of them was by pinning CJ Rawlings. So I'd love for it to be the same again. I don't have the same momentum that he does because I was thoroughly screwed in a tag match last show. But I earned this title shot by beating not just 30 people, as the Rumble was originally declared, but 31 from first to last. And that is a hell of a gauntlet to experience. So I feel like that's trial by fire. And now I'm more than ready to give CJ Rawlings the hard hat buster and pick up my first win in a company where I've been there for almost as long as any other. In fact, I think I've been at Wrestling Hinckley longer than any other, as we discussed before. And this is a company where I've never held a title. This is my hometown. This is a company that actually cheers and shows their love for me. So I want to do them proud. And I want to represent Wrestling in Hinckley. And hopefully I can do that this Saturday and pick up my first ever Wrestling in Hinckley championship.
Yeah, and I feel like you doubt yourself a bit by saying you're not momentum. Winning a whole Rumble from being an Iron Man it's a pretty good momentum. And if you get a hold of this title, as we discussed, we're giving a bit of spoilers to the Indy Spotlight that we did with Alex yesterday, which will be out in the future of this video. Alex, when he picks up a title, he holds on for it a while. So if you win this title, stats will say you'll have it for at least 500 days.
Yeah, well, I'll do my best to hold it for as long as possible. So we'll aim for 500 days. If it looks like there's some big opponents coming up, maybe we'll need another lockdown or something just to
we don't
push us over the edge. But
we don't want to.
No, I'm looking forward to being a fighting champion and an honourable champion and actually making the people of Wrestling Hinckley proud. But CJ Rawlings, he is one of the best. He's so athletic. He's so creative in the ring. He's someone it's really hard to look out for. But no one in Wrestling Hinckley has ever kicked out of the hard hat buster. In fact, I don't think anybody has ever kicked out of that brain buster on the knee, and you've seen a lot of my matches end that way.
Yes.
So if I can get that on him, I reckon that'll do it.
Yeah, it's going to be hard to call, Alex. I'm trying not to be biased. It's first title defense as well. CJ can be unhanded. You're a lovely man in Wrestling, Hinckley. I'm going to go with a 60-minute draw.
Okay, 60-minute time limit draw is now. Okay.
Where you get the 2 count and then it hits the 60-minute buzzer. That's what I'm feeling. There we go. I've booked it myself.
Okay, 60-minute time limit draw. I'm going to go for myself because you've got to be confident. You've got to be confident in wrestling, don't you? You've got to be excited. I know CJ is a relatively new champion, but sometimes shock title changes do happen, no matter how quickly someone's had it. And that's what the Adrenaline division is all about excitement. And I know most people probably won't think of health and safety as the face of the adrenaline division, but I think people have enjoyed some of the health and safety antics at Wrestling Hinkley for a long time, and I think they'll really enjoy a health and safety adrenaline champion.
Yeah. And that is pretty much it for the review. Well, that's the review of the matches. We've got some questions that we've got out. I'm going to bring this poster up. So that's all the information on the poster to get what you need to get there. So we've got 3 questions. So we've got one from Wrestle. What is going to be the match of the night?
So I can't choose my own match. That seems biased, doesn't it?
Yeah, slightly.
Yeah, so it's tough to look past the Jason Joshua, Kieran Young. Not only are they 2 really talented people, but there's loads on the line. They know each other well. They've trained together, and they are both on the runs of their lives. So I think that's going to be an absolute banger.
Yeah, I agree.
Not to take away from any of the matches. I'm very excited for the chaos of the 8-man. I love Lucia Lee debuting, but I've just got to pick one. So I'm going Kieran Young versus Jason Joshua.
Yeah, whereas I can pick your match, and I'm going to pick your match. Big fan of you both. CJ Rollins always, like, it's hard for CJ to have a bad match, hard for you to have a bad match. And as I said, the Kieran Young match, it could all revolve around, it could end in 5 seconds if the goons are involved. So,
True.
So that's what we're going for. So me, CJ versus Alex. Alex is going for Kieran versus Jason Joshua. The next match, the next question is from In. Will we find out if Kieran Young's masked men? Will we find out who are Kieran Young's masked men?
That is a great question, and it's one that's been weighing over Wrestling in Hinkley for at least 2 shows now. I think Jason Joshua is going to come in with a game plan. I think it might cost him a little. It might distract him a little, but I think that game plan is going to be to get his hands on at least one of these people. So I say yes. Make sure you're there at Wrestling in Hinkley and find out who has been destroying the Wrestling in Hinkley title picture. I think Jason Joshua's got a plan, and we are going to see at least one of them.
Yeah. I feel like, well, he nearly got his chance to do it last
time. It was
time.
so close, wasn't he?
I don't think he's going to let
it
slip.
One last time.
Yeah, if it happens again, he's not going to
get away again.
Not going to let it slip. And this question assumes that it's all men. So, assuming here. And then finally, the last question is from Hinkley. Will Alex Connors be the new Adrenaline Division champion?
Yes.
60-minute Broadway.
Yes, I think he is going to be the new Adrenaline champion because he has a fantastic finishing move that CJ has already lost the belt to, and CJ's about to get some deja vu.
Yeah, and I'm very much looking forward to it. Isn't it odd that the questions came from one person called Wrestling, the other person called In, and the third person called Hinkley? Don't know how that
very
worked.
passionate, very passionate and organised fan base. If you have never been to a Wrestling in Hinkley show, and obviously you're probably used to me coming here and talking about Kamikaze amongst most things, or maybe you're used to me coming on this show and talking about wrestling connections and quizzes. But Wrestling in Hinkley has the most rabid and loyal fan base of probably any of the independent shows I've ever seen. They are family friendly, but an absolute raucous crowd. And so it's totally different to any of the other shows. It's fun, it's entertaining, it's a little bit wacky, but it gets very serious, and it's one of the best shows in the country right now. So I would strongly recommend you go and check it out and find out who those masked men are.
Yeah, my first show was last show out, and I very much enjoyed it, and I'm already coming back. And then this next show, which June 15th, is my birthday. So I'm not coming because I don't like how that works.
That's why we had it on that day. That one's going to be the Rate Birthday Bash, I think we're calling it.
Yep, that should be it. Birthday Bash Spectacular. There we go.
Yeah.
I've booked it. Let's go. Anyway, so as usual then, the information for Hinkley is on the screen. Go get whatever you can get before they're gone.
Yeah, they are selling out fast. Wrestling in Hinkley always comes close to selling out. I think front row is sold out. I think VIP is sold out. So, yeah, genuinely, get it while you can.
Yeah. And as usual, like and subscribe. The channel's bringing out too much content. Alex is living in this channel. We've got the Kamikaze Pro preview coming out, which I'm doing with JC. We've got Kamikaze Review, which will be obviously with you. We've got a Wrestle Connect with the Kumite guys, which is with you. We've got an Indie Spotlight, which is with you. We've got a Indie Scravagandas that we do every month. We've got future Indie Spotlights. We've got an AWW review with the Bastard. It's all going to be fun and games, and we're all happy that I'm going to die reviewing wrestling.
Yeah, that's what we love. That's what we live for.
Exactly.
What else would we rather do with our time? Although I did just eat the best mac and cheese I've ever eaten in my life. So
I just had nuggets. That's what nuggets and teriyaki sauce. I'm a flipping scoundrel. Anyway, anything else you want to bring up, Alex, before we go?
No, not at all. Just I know it's a different kind of show to what we usually review here, so go check it out. It's one of the best, and hopefully see you there. And I'll definitely see you there this Saturday.
That's goodbye from me, everyone.
Bye bye.
Oh yeah.